My husband has a first love which I have never forgotten for so many years. For the sake of first love, regardless of our son's life, choosing between his son and his first love, he firmly chose his first love. Although I have given birth to children for him, I still can't get into his heart. I believe that demons have their own destiny. 1. Half an hour ago, Qin Chun received a strange call. The panicked cry of Song Ning came from the phone. Chun, someone has planted a bomb on me. Help me. Qin Chun's face suddenly changed when he heard the words. A man's hoarse voice came from the mobile phone. Qin Chun, the two most important people of you are in my hands. I'm very curious. Which one will you save? Qin Chun contacted his colleagues in the explosives handling section of the police station as soon as possible and rushed to the scene of the incident. I didn't know that something had happened to Xiaoqi until I received a call from my husband. The bandit kidnapped her husband's white moonlight, and even his young son became his target. He tied a time bomb to the two of them and played a life-threatening game. Qin Chun recognized the identity of the bandit at a glance. It turned out that the kidnapping was a premeditated crime. 2 years ago, there was an explosion in Hong Kong City, in which 2 citizens were killed. As the best bomb disposal expert in the bomb disposal force, Qin Chun successfully saved 2 lives from the bandits. But his team members were not so lucky. The disassembly mission failed and they were buried in the sea of fire on the spot. This is a profession with 0 fault tolerance rate, and every time you take a mission, you will face the test of life and death. I have persuaded Qin Chun many times to give up this dangerous career. They are facing complex dangerous goods. If there is a little difference, they will be crushed. But for the sake of the faith in his heart, he insisted on sticking to his post. The bandit said that if Qin Chun had chosen to save his mother back then, his mother would not have died. He shouted to let him taste the pain of loss. Xiaoqi was so scared that his little body kept shaking. Mom, I'm so scared. I wanted to hug him but I was stopped by the police. Madam, there is a dangerous area ahead. You can't go there. Xiaoqi was so scared that he cried loudly, which made my heart pull into a ball. The bandit opened the explosion countdown through remote control. Qin Chun, if the child and the beloved are destined to die, who will you choose? Qin Chun didn't even wear explosion-proof equipment, and rushed to Song Ning's direction almost without thinking. In the blink of an eye, he had gone to by Meng Ning's side, and he comforted her softly. With me you'll be fine. Don't worry. I broke through the obstacles and broke in, almost in a pleading tone. Xiaoqi is waiting for you. I beg you to save our children. After checking, Qin Chun found that this was a new type of bomb, which was extremely difficult to disassemble. The wires of the 2 bombs are connected, one will explode and the other will explode. If one side is dismantled first, the other side will also burst. Dismantling this kind of bomb is a great test of the tacit understanding of the members of the bomb disposal team. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Qin Chun's partner arrived. Whether it is professional skills or psychological quality, his partner is slightly inferior. I dare not gamble with Xiaoqi's life. Once the bet is wrong, Xiaoqi's life will be lost. Qin Chun disliked me and roared at me. Li Jing, do you want to kill everyone? If we are distracted during the bomb disposal process, we will all die. I never thought that when faced with the choice of life and death, my husband would resolutely choose to save his white moonlight. Aiken, Xiaoqi is your own flesh and blood. Are you going to watch him die? 2. Qin Chun and Song Ning are each other's first love, and have been entangled with each other for many years. It was very indecent for the two to break up at the beginning, and Qin Chun has always regretted it. Qin Chun married me purely because of the pressure of his elders. He was so drunk that he mistook me for his white moonlight and had an absurd night. After that night I was pregnant with Xiaoqi. Qin Chun has a white moonlight that he has loved for many years. He can't sleep for her at night. Because I couldn't marry the person I has in my heart, he ignored me everywhere after marriage. Even children who are related by blood are not treated by him. When the danger occurred, Qin Chun did not hesitate to choose Bai Yueguang to save him. His partner asked him to put on an explosion-proof suit, but he didn't seem to hear it. He cares about the safety of the white moonlight, and how can he care about his life or death? There is no time. The partner did not dare to waste time and quickly devoted himself to the task of dismantling the bomb. The time on the bomb is rapidly regressing, and every second is the test of death. Fortunately, Qin Chun and his partner cooperated tacitly, and the early disassembly task was very smooth. But there is not much time left for them. The police are evacuating the onlookers and asking them to retreat to a safe area. Regardless of my own safety, I insisted on staying with Xiaoqi. Xiaoqi's wet eyes showed ignorance and innocence. Mom, what is death? Am I going to die? The son's eyes were full of fear. At a young age, he has been pretending to be calm in order not to worry me. My heart was pulled into a ball trying to calm his anxious mood. Xiaoqi, with your father here, you will be safe. Xiaoqi hung his head and couldn't hide his lost expression on his face. Dad doesn't like me? If he didn't like him, how could Dad leave him to save Ansong? I shook my head desperately. Xiao, no, it's not like that. Xiaoqi has lacked his father's love since he was a child, and he is eager to get his father's care. Unfortunately, Qin Chen's attitude towards him is very cold. There are few warm moments between father and son. He is an emotionally sensitive child. He can feel that his father doesn't care about him. Mom, Xiaoqi doesn't want to be a burden to you. Don't wrong yourself at any time. I burst into tears and I felt that my heart was about to break. How can Xiaoqi be a burden for Mom? It's too late for Mom to love you. It's obviously a problem between adults. Why let an innocent child bear it? Under the extreme torment, the last thread was also cut. The bomb was successfully dismantled, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Song Ning collapsed in Qin Chen's arms, looking shocked. Aiken, I'm injured. Can you take me to the hospital? Qin Cheng almost frowned. Song Ning, hold on. I'll take you to the hospital right away. I held his sleeve and said, Aiken, Xiaoqi is also injured. Qin Chen shook off my hand and said, the ambulance of the hospital is coming soon. You can accompany Xiaoqi and wait. After he left, the originally dismantled bomb exploded without warning. I was shocked by the shock wave of the explosion, and the fire in the sky burned everything to ashes. Xiaoqi's life will always be fixed at the age of 5. 3. I was seriously injured in the explosion. The police evacuated in time, and there were no casualties. The doctor told me that my brain was severely affected, and I didn't wake up after 3 days in a coma. During this period, I went through large and small surgeries to barely save my life. The person who stays by my side is not my husband, but my husband's partner Qi Fan. Qi Fan is tall, beautiful and handsome, and looks like he is in his early 20s. When he saw me wake up, his eyes lit up immediately. I had drips on my hands, and my whole body hurt so much that my bones seemed to be broken and reorganized. Where is Xiaoqi? Qi Fan lowered his head, looking guilty and useless, and didn't speak for a long time. There was a sharp pain in my heart, and the picture of the explosion kept flashing in my mind. I forcibly pulled out the needle in my hand and struggled to get up. As a result, my body fell heavily to the ground uncontrollably. Seeing this, Qi Fan quickly called the doctor. Sister Jing, you are seriously injured. You'd better cooperate with the doctor to treat it well. I begged him. Qi Fan, can you take me to see Xiaoqi? Qi Fan was silent. He didn't dare to look me straight in the eye. His silence made me panic. When the explosion occurred, I instinctively rushed to Xiaoqi, but was blown out by the shock wave of the explosion. Xiaoqi is more fierce and less auspicious. Qi Fan's voice was choked. If I hadn't been careless, Xiaoqi wouldn't have. I burst into tears. Qi Fan, can you take me to see Xiaoqi? Qi Fan buried his head lower. Don't look at it. I'm afraid you can't stand it. Xiaoqi's body is lying alone in the morgue of the hospital. I asked Qi Fan, where is Qin Chen? Where is he? The child had such a big thing that Qin Chen couldn't even see a person. I have been in the hospital for so many days, and he has never come to see me. He turned a deaf hand to his wife and children, and his mobile phone was turned off. His indifference shocked me and felt cold. Qin Chen doesn't care about my life or death, but Xiaoqi is his own flesh and blood. How can he be so indifferent? I was so eager to see Xiaoqi. He was lying alone in the morgue. How scared was he? Qi Fan, please take me to see Xiaoqi. The doctor said that I was seriously injured. If I don't take good care of myself, I may become disabled. But I miss Xiaoqi so much that I must see him right away. After begging him loudly, Qi Fan finally let go and promised to take me to see Xiaoqi. He found a wheelchair and gently carried me into the wheelchair. The corridor to the hospital morgue is winding, and it is getting darker and darker, which is so oppressive that people can't breathe. The part of the heart seems to be firmly strangled by an invisible palm, which makes it difficult for people to breathe. Qi Fan looked worried. You have to be mentally prepared. I'm afraid you won't be able to bear it. Xiaoqi's body was covered with white cloth, and a piece of charred arm was exposed, and the original appearance could no longer be seen. His small body curled up into a ball, which showed that he suffered great pain before his death. His facial features were already unrecognizable, and his flesh and blood were burned to ashes under the fire. It took the forensic doctor a long time to put his skeleton together. Tears welled down, and I almost fainted in front of my eyes. Qi Fan quickly held me up, and his eyes were full of worry. Are you all right? I can't believe that Xiaoqi left me like this. Qi Fan, this is not Xiaoqi. Are you lying to me? Qi Fan turned his head and couldn't bear to look again. People can't be resurrected after death. You mourn. My husband, who had been out of contact for a few days, took the initiative to call me. I saw that Xiaoqi was also injured the other day. Is he all right? I trembled so much that I couldn't hold my mobile phone, and my throat choked up. Aiken, do you know that Xiaoqi has? Song Ning's soft voice came from Qin Chen's side. He interrupted me ruthlessly. Li Jing, Xiaoqi, please take care of me. I can't leave for the time being. It turned out that he was not blind. He knew that Xiaoqi was also injured, but what he was most worried about was his white moonlight. During my coma, he took care of his white moonlight in the hospital. I muttered like I lost my soul. Xiaoqi will never need anyone to take care of me. Qin Chen's voice sank. What do you mean by this? For her husband was busy taking care of his heart in the hospital, and no one took care of Xiaoqi's future. I wanted to be discharged from the hospital in advance, but the doctor was resolute and refused to go through the discharge procedures for me. That day, Qin Chen had a big fight with me on my mobile phone, and the mobile phone simply turned off. My parents both passed away when I was very young, and I have no relatives in Nanshire. Over the years, Xiaoqi and I have depended on each other. He is the belief that supports my survival. Xiaoqi is gone and my faith has collapsed. Qi Fan came to the hospital to see me. He said that I was thin and my face was haggard. Brother Chun, hasn't he come to the hospital to see you once? My heart was sour. Has Qin Che returned to the police station? Can you contact him? Thinking of the dead child, my nose was sour and tears wet my cheeks. Qi Fan's figure froze in place and didn't know how to comfort me. He shook his head. Brother Chen didn't go back to the police station and I couldn't contact him. A person with such a strong sense of responsibility can't play such a childish game as missing. Could it be that someone deliberately didn't let us contact him? In the eyes of those colleagues, Qin Chen is a person with a strong sense of responsibility. He rarely leaves without permission and plays with the way of disappearing. But Qin Chen's heart is true to Song Ning, and he regards her more than anyone else. Qi Fan frowned slightly. There is such a big mistake in this mission, and someone must be responsible. Brother Chun suddenly lost contact, and a voice had appeared in the police force saying that he was in hiding for fear of crime. We must find him quickly. On the 7th day of Xiaoqi's accident, I met my husband who had been out of contact for many days. He is inseparable from Song Ning just like a pair of people. Qin Chen explained indifferently. I made an appointment with a psychologist to give a Ning psychological counseling. After that shock, Song Ning suffered from a stress psychological disorder. Qin Chen was worried that something would happen to her and stayed by her side day and night. I slapped my husband in the face. Qin Chen, you are so old and you still play the trick of disappearing. Aren't you childish? The man's eyes were stained with a thin layer of anger. Li Jing, can you make trouble unreasonable? Ning almost died. Can't you have some sympathy? Song Ning lives well, and her husband surrounds her every day. But Xiaoqi's life was gone, but her husband didn't even say a word of concern. She, an adult, can't bear it. Have you ever wondered if Xiaoqi can bear it? He was also injured. Did you care about him? If Qin Chen had asked Xiaoqi to leave with him that day, the tragedy would not have happened. Song Ning came over and apologized to me. I have nothing to rely on in Nanshire. I only know a friend, a Shun, so I can only trouble him. Don't blame Aiken. If you want to blame me, blame me. I thought it was funny. He glanced at her coldly, shook his hand and slapped her. Pestering other people's husbands, you know 3 and do 3. Are you cheap? 5. On the day of Xiaoqi's burial, the weather was gloomy. The north wind sobbed like the sound of crying. Few people came to condolences. There was a whisper in the crowd. The child has had an accident for a few days, and the funeral has been delayed until now. What's going on? Where is the child's father? An insider secretly revealed the inside story. Qin Chen never forgot his first love. When his first love faced the test of life and death, he did not hesitate to abandon his own flesh and blood. Who doesn't know that Qin Chen likes Song Ning? If Li Jingtian hadn't climbed into his bed shamelessly, how could she have had a chance to enter the door of the Qin family? A woman who relies on her children to rise to the top. If she doesn't have children to rely on, she will probably be swept out of the house soon. The child is gone, and Qin Chen has no worries if he wants to marry the person he likes. I had a splitting headache and tried to close my eardrums so as not to listen to others' discussions. Those sounds pierced my heart like a steel needle, and it hurt so much. Halfway through the funeral, Qin Chen appeared late. He grabbed my wrist and asked coldly, "Is this how you take care of the children?" My eyes were red and swollen when I cried, and my throat was tight and I choked up. "Qin Chen, aren't you taking care of your white moonlight? You are so willing to come back." The man was cold around him, and his voice was even colder. "Li Jing, you haven't answered me yet." His force is so heavy that he can't wait to crush my bones. I curled my shoulders and looked at him with resisting eyes. "Qin Chen, don't you know why the child is gone? Did he deliberately pretend to be stupid to blame me?" Qin Chen said with blame, "Why didn't you tell me earlier when something happened to the child? I thought it was ridiculous. Have you given me a chance to tell you? Qin Chen, you haven't been home for a week. Don't forget, you are a married man. The force in Qin Chen's hand became deeper, almost in a gnashing tone. Li Jing, you know why I married you. Don't want to pinch me with your child. The child is gone, and there is no sadness on his face, let alone tears. It seems that he died, an irrelevant person. For so many years he has never regarded Xiaoqi as his child, but as a stumbling block to the pursuit of true love. He never regarded me as his wife, but regarded me as a stain in life. A girl like me, whose family is mediocre and looks ordinary, has no chance to marry into the Qin family. Qin Shan married me under the pressure of his elders. He has always wanted to end this marriage. Nowadays, without the restraint of children, he can no longer be forced to. My husband cruelly let his son die for the sake of the white moonlight. 39,103. Want to end the marriage to pursue his true love. I shook off his hand. I have lived like a single mother all these years. How can I blackmail you with a child? When Xiaoqi was sick, I took him to the hospital alone. On his birthday, I also helped him celebrate his birthday alone. He obviously has a father, but he is laughed at by others as a poor person without his father's love. Qin Shan pursed his lips slightly, and his tone was still understated. I have indeed neglected your mother and son over the years. I'm sorry. I was discouraged. Qin Shan, let's divorce. Since the person he loves is Song Ning, I will fulfill them. Qin Shan agreed quickly. I'll ask the lawyer to send you the divorce agreement tomorrow. I forced myself to hold back my tears and was so stubborn that I didn't let tears fall. I will sign the divorce agreement as soon as possible. Qin Shan looked relieved. I want Ning to move in so that I can take care of her. I hope you can move out as soon as possible. 6. In order not to let outsiders say that he treated his ex-wife harshly, Qin Shan transferred a vacant property in his name to me. Before the divorce procedures between me and my husband were completed, Song Ning had already entered the court and occupied the magpie's nest. She pretended to be a hostess, which made people throw out all of Xiaoqi's relics. When I saw this scene, my eyes turned red. I rushed over and protected Xiaoqi's relics in my arms. Xiaoqi is gone, and his relics are my only thoughts. Song Ning's eyes were full of contempt and contempt. These dead things definitely can't be left at home. Obscure. I stared at Song Ning, eager to swallow this lively woman. She was creepy when I stared at her, and her aura and her words was 3 points weaker. Li Jing, your identity as Mrs. Qin was originally stolen, and now I just take back what belongs to me. Do you think you can keep Qin Shan by your side when you have a child? Don't dream. I slapped her hard on the face. Who asked you to touch Xiaoqi's things? Song Ning was stunned by me and stared wide-eyed. You came to the top by dishonorable means. Now that the child is gone, the dream of your rich wife has been completely broken. In her opinion, I have lost. I grabbed her hair and looked at her coldly. My divorce certificate with Qin Shan hasn't been issued for a day, and I'm still Mrs. Qin, and I'm still the mistress of this family. If you throw away Xiaoqi's things, you can put them back. Otherwise, I will call the police and say that you broke into people's houses and maliciously damaged your belongings. Song Ning was so scared that her face turned pale. She still said stiffly, Qin Shan picked me up in person and the servants can testify. The maids looked at each other. Madam, Miss Song was indeed picked up by Mr. Qin himself and asked us to take good care of her. I let go of my hand, and my heart seemed to be entangled by vines, and it became tighter and tighter. Before Xiaoqi's bones were cold, Qin Shan couldn't wait to marry a new couple. Can't he wait any longer? Song Ning laughed at my pity. After so many years of marrying a Chan, you still haven't let him fall in love with you. Li Jing, you are a failure. In fact, the little guy was much more seriously injured than me that day, but I just want to verify who is more important in Aiken's mind. When Aiken left you, I already had the answer in my heart. I was so excited that I broke down and went crazy. I rushed over to tear her apart. Qin Shan strode over and strangled my neck fiercely. Li Jing, you rely on Mrs. Qin's identity to act arrogantly in front of a Ning. Who gave you the courage? Song Ning said falsely. A Chun, maybe I shouldn't have moved in, otherwise she wouldn't be stimulated. Qin Shan comforted her. You can live here at ease. No one can drive you away. When Song Ning looked at me, her eyes were full of provocation. She didn't say a word about throwing away Xiaoqi's relics. A Chun, the divorce procedures between you and Li Jing have not been completed yet. Outsiders who live here will definitely talk nonsense behind their backs. After a long time, she was afraid that the divorce would make a change. I suddenly felt a whirlwind in front of me, and my vision became more and more dizzy. When I woke up, I was already lying in the hospital. The doctor said that I was pregnant. 7. This child came at the wrong time. I asked the doctor to hide the pregnancy for me. The doctor said that my fetus is unstable, and there is a risk of slipping at any time. I'm not going to keep this child and get rid of it secretly. It's better not to give birth to a child who is not expected. I don't want him to be like Xiaoqi, who was born without his father's love and grew up in indolence. Qin Shun asked the doctor. Is she all right? The doctor told him. Your wife's injury has not healed, and she should not be in a bad mood. As a husband, you should care more about her. Qin Shun wondered. Are you hurt? When did it happen? I thought it was ridiculous. Qin Shun, you never ask about your affairs. Why do you care about me now? He doesn't need to know about pregnancy. Otherwise, he should think that I want to pester him. Qin Shun said in a calm tone. Can't you talk to me properly? About Xiaoqi, I know you have a grudge against me. Stun it. I interrupted him. I'm tired and want to rest. I don't want to have anything to do with Qin Shun anymore. After the man left, I cried out loud. Thinking of Xiaoqi, I burst into tears again. Qi Fan came to see me. Are you really not going to tell Brother Zhen about your pregnancy? I raised my red eyes and choked in my throat before I could open my mouth. The child is a stumbling block on his way to pursue true love, and it is the burden he wants to throw away most. In that case, why should I tell him about the existence of this child? Qi Fan frowned. He is the father of the child, and he has the right to know. My mood fluctuated violently, and I grabbed the vase on the table and smashed it hard. Tell him to decide whether to keep the child. Do you want to give him another chance to kill my child? There were bursts of spasms in my stomach, and a warm liquid slowly flowed down from the inside of my thigh. When Qi Fan saw the eye-catching red, he suddenly panicked. He quickly rang the bed bell and called the doctor. I touched the sticky red liquid, my eyes turned red, and my body seemed to fall into the ice cellar. Qi Fan thought of calling Qin Chan, but my mobile phone was knocked to the ground and smashed to pieces. Don't call him. No one is allowed to call him. Even if my child and I die, it's none of his business. Qi Fan tried to calm me down. Don't get excited, I won't hit you. The blood dyed my skirt red and I was out of control. The nurse exclaimed. The pregnant woman's blood has collapsed. Hurry up and push the emergency room. Notify the family quickly. I grabbed Qi Fan's sleeve and almost exhausted. Help me tell Qin Shun. After my death, let him bury my ashes with Xiaoqi. Qi Fan choked and said, Believe me, you will be fine. The dazzling surgery light came on, and in a trance I seemed to see Xiaoqi. His cold lips gently kissed my cheek. He blamed me. Mom, why didn't you protect your brother well? Our two brothers are accompanied below, so you don't have to miss us. Mom, you must love yourself well. 8. The doctor said that I walked through the ghost gate, and it took them a lot of effort to rescue me. Unfortunately, I couldn't keep the baby in my belly. Qin Shun was reprimanded by the doctor before he knew that I almost died on the operating table. After all, I couldn't hide the pregnancy and abortion from him. Li Jing, why didn't you tell me that you were pregnant? I asked him with red eyes. Let me tell you, won't you divorce me? I didn't save the child. It's better than being forced to have an abortion by you. Qin Qian was silent. It was hard for him to get rid of the burden of the child. It was impossible for him to repeat the same mistake. When he heard the news of my abortion, he was shocked and then surprised, but he was not sad. After marriage, he did not protect her white moonlight, but tortured me in bed fiercely. He was so cautious that he didn't find me or I was pregnant. You don't like Ning's house. I've asked her to move out. I clenched my hands tightly, and my nails were deeply embedded in the flesh. The pain made my mind clear. Is this man coaxing me? Qin Chen's voice is not as cold as it used to be, and even his eyes are much gentler. You just had a miscarriage. You should take good care of yourself to avoid falling into the root of the disease. I was stunned and suddenly smiled. Qin Chan, is it because of guilt that you are suddenly so good to me? He is the most cold-natured person. He is best at doing superficial work and never gives outsiders a chance to criticize him. He is a model husband in the eyes of outsiders. He is handsome, rich and considerate, but in private he makes me suffer a lot of grievances. Qin Chan didn't get angry and looked at me with soft eyes. She lost Xiaoqi's relics, so you attacked her. I shrank into the corner and every cell was screaming away. She dares to throw away Xiaoqi's relics. Isn't it because of your preference that she dares to do whatever she wants? Even the servants were respectful to her, obeyed, and treated her as a mistress. A trace of guilt appeared on Qin Chen's indifferent face. I have sorted out Xiaoqi's relics and none of them are missing. Ning probably didn't mean it. I apologize to you for her. I swallowed the bitterness in my heart and said with a smile, if she really feels guilty, come and apologize to me in person. He always tolerates her heart to provoke me, but I have to let her lower her noble head and repent sincerely in front of me. Qin Chan pinched the back of my neck and pressed his lips against my auricle. Aging, don't you mean to embarrass me? I smiled and said, just ask her to apologize to me and you are heartbroken? He leaned very close and looked like he was about to kiss. I was nervous and every hair was resisting his approach. The man's voice was deep. Ning likes to cry. I can't see her wrong the most. Don't argue with her. Let's expose this matter. She couldn't stand the grievances, so he chose to let me suffer. Qin Chun, if you slap a sweet date, the matter will turn over. What about you as a 3-year-old child? The man coaxed me in a soft voice. I've asked her to move out. What else do you want me to do? Do you have to ask her to kneel down and apologize to you before you give up? I smiled. I really want her to kneel down and apologize to me. Are you willing? If you raise her outside like a junior, can she stand such an injustice? 9. Qin Chun said that he tried to start over with Song Ning, but he could never find the previous feeling. He is greedy for my body and doesn't want to end up with me, but he is reluctant to break up with Song Ning. He hovered between the two women, swaying from side to side, wandering. I tore off his hypocritical mask. Qin Chun, you want to sit and enjoy the blessings of Chiron. How can there be such a good thing in the world? Either break up with her or divorce me. You choose one. Qin Chun also wanted to brainwash me with sugar-coated cannonballs. Ning suffers from stress psychological disorder, and she can't live without people around her. Give me some time and I will deal with it. In the past he was like this. He coaxed me again and again to make me willing to endure grievances. But I don't want to be perfect anymore. I made a decision for him. Qin Chun, this marriage has been tormenting us for too long, and it should have ended long ago. In the future, you pursue your true love, and I will be my happy free man. Qin Chun's face sank. He pressed me against the wall and bowed my head to kiss me. His kiss was fierce and cruel with a punitive smell and seemed to be coaxing me. He said that he seemed to fall in love with me. I took a deep mouthful of saliva. That feeling was more disgusting than being gnawed by a dog. I feel sick when I think of the mouth that kissed the woman's lips and said the most beautiful love words to her. The gastric juice turned upside down in the stomach. Qin Chun was so angry that he tore off my sick clothes and wanted to be serious about me. I trembled with fear. Qin Chun, I just finished the uterine clearance surgery. Are you sure you want to do it with me? Postoperative infection, if serious, may be fatal. Qin Chun's head seemed to be hit with a heavy hammer, and his brain suddenly became clear. He apologized to me, and his true appearance almost made people believe it. I stood up like a hedgehog. Now that we are divorced, we will not violate the river in the future. I won't bother you and don't provoke me. The man was sure that I loved him and thought I was angry. He felt that as long as he coaxed me, I would crawl back to him like a dog. But this time he is going to miscalculate because I don't want him. Qin Chun was surprisingly patient. It's time to calm down after making a fuss for so long. If you like children, we will have another child in the future. I was stimulated by his words, and suddenly it exploded on the spot like a cat whose tail was only stepped on. Qin Chun, do you think I will still show weakness to you as pitifully as before and flatter you without backbone? But I found that you don't deserve it at all. You are like a dead mouse in a stinky ditch, dirty and smelly. You are not a competent father, let alone a competent bomb disposal expert. Your behavior has humiliated the whole bomb disposal team. Qin Chun still wanted to argue, so I released the recording of the conversation between me and Song Ning. The expression on his face was complicated. Shock, shock, unbelievable. 10. The recording of this dialogue was published on the internet, which instantly caused an uproar in public opinion. Song Ning knew that she killed Xiaoqi, she should be despised by the world. The storm of public opinion ruined Qin Chun's reputation. Countless netizens poured into his Weibo, and soon his Weibo fell. The overwhelming abuse came one after another. The superior was furious and questioned him. The former bomb disposal team was proud of him, but now they are ashamed of him. Qi Fan asked him, Brother Chan, if you had known the ending like this, would you have saved Bai Yueguang without hesitation and chose to sacrifice Xiaoqi? Qin Zhang's expression was sloppy, his stubble was sloppy, and his eyes were full of regret and remorse. I killed Xiaoqi. Li Jing must hate me in her heart, right? Qi Fan hesitated slightly. He said, when Xiaoqi had an accident, Li Jing was also seriously injured and was in a coma in the hospital bed for several days. When she needs care the most, you are taking care of the slightly injured White Moonlight. When she went to claim Xiaoqi's body, she was so sad that she almost died. At that moment, she was already very disappointed in you. Qin Chun raised his eyes in astonishment, and his pupils contracted violently, as if he had suffered a major blow. When she was crying sadly, he was not by her side, and his indifference delayed her. He deliberately said a lot of words to provoke her just to see her collapse and cry. When he learned the news of Xiaoqi's death, his heart was numb and he couldn't feel a trace of sadness. There is even an idea of relief. Damn him. Qin Chun hugged me and cried bitterly. Honey, I know I have made an unforgivable mistake and I am not qualified to ask for your forgiveness. He couldn't regret it. I didn't see my heart clearly before, but when I saw it clearly it was too late. I gently pushed him away, and he was deeply stung by the alienation in my eyes. People, don't you know how to cherish them only when you lose them? Qin Chun burst into tears. I'm sorry, Xiao. When he left, did he complain about me? I shook my head and said, Xiao Qi has never been loved by his father since he was born, so his mind is relatively precocious. He felt that he was not good enough, so his father didn't like him. He has always longed for his father's love, but his wish did not come true until he died. The blood on Qin Chen's face disappeared in an instant, and he closed his eyes in pain. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, Xiao Qi will never hear these words. He left us forever with regret. 11. After many years, I waited for Song Ning's apology. The doctor said that she had a tumor in her brain and it was not long. She said, it turns out that the wicked really have evil retribution. Li Jing, my retribution is coming. I'm sorry, I owe you this sentence. At the funeral, I presented a beautiful bouquet of daisies. Qi Fan stood beside me and looked at me gently. At the lowest point of my life, he encouraged me to cheer up. He said, people can't always be trapped in the past. Learn to move forward bravely. It turns out that there will really be a rainbow after the storm.